Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is talking about 5 ways, and I guess maybe tricks, of how to figure out which manuscript you're going to write. You have an array of manuscripts, or maybe you just have one, but you're still struggling to start it. And these are the questions, 5 questions, a handful of questions that I ask my friends or colleagues when they're stuck and they can't, for whatever reason, move forward with starting or at least finishing. Even though it's trashy, we still need to finish it. I've also asked these questions of myself, so they're in no particular order. I usually ask whatever pops up in my head first for a particular person, so just be aware this isn't like a rank thing, it's just whatever is coming up in my head. Okay, so the first thing that I ask is, are you writing for the art, the entertainment, the money, or the activism? Art is, you want awards. You don't necessarily want the money, because that doesn't always mean that just because you win a few awards, that doesn't mean that your book's popular, right? But you want the artsy-fartsy of it, or like you see a PhD goal in mind for creative writing, specifically for creative writing, though maybe English. I think those two would be the ones where you're really aiming high, because that's a lot of work because you're not just writing a story, you're writing a thesis, right? I don't even know what they do anymore. I had one person go for the art of writing, and that stuff was intense. She was getting her master's and then going to do a PhD, but we lost track of each other when I moved across the US, and I don't know where she is, but that was really honing in the art. It was like working on each sentence and making it flow in an artistic way. There was no room for, I guess, fun, which I don't know if that's the best word, but I'm just gonna use it. It really was not seen for entertainment, though it can entertain. There's another flip side where you're not doing like the scholarly way. So I want all my books, including the poetry books, to last a very long time, and though it is for entertainment and there's maybe like a little activism in there, it is, the main goal is to touch people's hearts, and that does not necessarily mean that I will get money or like a lot of money. The entertainment section, do you want to have books that are fun? And the entertainment is really about listening to your fans and what they want, and then creating a book. And a lot of self-published writers do this. They can do this because they can do whatever they want. They don't have anyone above them. They have their fans, and if their fans want XYZ, then they'll put it in the novel that they're currently writing. Now, the money aspect, I'm laughing because I know money grabs, the stuff that's easy to write and that's really popular, not necessarily like marketable, but really popular, like erotica. Specifically, I have given many examples of Bigfoot erotica. So there's a huge market for Bigfoot erotica. You can get a lot of money, okay? You can get a lot of, so people will just write Bigfoot erotica, and that, you have a fun time with that. That could be also in the entertainment aspect. They kind of match up fairly well, entertainment and money, but I don't laugh as much when we're talking about the entertainment one, because okay, I need to move on because it's just too funny, but that type of thing, right? Okay, and the The last one is activism. Now, that would be talking about something political or social issue. Now, it doesn't have to be a biography of you or a memoir, but it can definitely be a fiction book, and usually that would be safer for a lot of people, especially when we're talking about sexual violence or domestic violence. And so you as a person say, need to, not just one, I need to write a book about the issues of domestic violence because it happened to me. And so that is where the activism plays in. So that's really important. Which one are you writing? Now you can do like a mixture of both. So I do a mixture of artsy fartsy. I call it that because it's just funny. Artsy fartsy and entertainment, but the art is the main thing, and if people are entertained and it's like a fun ride, then I'm totally into it. And now the second tip is, does your story make sense? And if it doesn't make sense right now, can you make it make sense? Now, that might have been a lot of words there, but say that you have an idea and it's a good idea, but there are plot holes. Can you fix the plot holes? Or can you not right now? Maybe you can't right now, but maybe in 5 years you've grown, you've figured more stuff out, and then you can fix the plot holes, and then you can move on to writing your manuscript and, you know, finishing the draft. It's okay if you can't figure it out, just shelve it and then go to another manuscript that, if it doesn't make sense, like the story, the character arcs, the setting, the theme, so on and so forth, if that makes sense, then that would be a good bet as well. And then you work on the thing or the things that don't make sense in another manuscript or 5 other manuscripts. And then you still have backups, but you're going to actually write and publish a book that is easier in a way, and that also makes sense. Because you do not want 1 and 2 star reviews all over the place saying, I found plot holes, there is plot bunnies all over this book, and it doesn't make sense. Why did they publish it? Did they not get an editor? Did they not get beta readers? So on and so forth. It's not a good look, and you can't change that. Number 3, and I'm not huge on this one, but I do ask it, and I do ask it of myself, is what's popular right now? For example, there was a huge trend, I don't know, like 5 years ago, something years ago, where it was just zombies. Zombies, zombies, zombies. And so if you have a manuscript that has zombies, that's when you're writing it and you're finishing it. This is what's hot right now. You're a self-published writer. You can get it done in, let's just say, 6 months. It's still going strong. Write it, right? But that does mean that you have to stay up on what's going on, and I guess not everyone wants to, and not everyone wants to feel confined of following the trends and anything that's popular. I totally understand. That's not really me as well, but some people really write to know what's popular in the moment, and they're doing a fantastic job. So that is an option, but you don't have to. So number 4 is, what story makes you excited? And if there is no story that you have in mind that makes you excited, that's okay, because some stories can really drain you, and even in a negative way. My 4th poetry book, really important. It was very draining though, because it has a lot of heavy poems, and I had to figure out where to put them. Well, first I had to write them, and then I had to figure out where to put them, and it was a lot, but it's worth it. So you have to ask yourself, if this draft doesn't bring me joy, like I'm not sitting down and I'm not, you know, writing with a huge grin on my face and just really excited, why is it not doing that? And can I handle writing X amount of words of this, or do I need a manuscript that really excites me on this end, and then I also work on the one that's a bit emotionally draining on the other end. I do that when I have a manuscript that is draining. I'll work on something that's fun. And if something is exciting to you, go for it. Absolutely go for it. But, you know, of course, the other points do need to be taken into account, because if it doesn't make sense but it's fun, then can you publish it? I'm sure eventually if you get like developmental edits and betas and all that stuff, but I go about where we're going to have a clean, or at least like as much clean, makes sense, it all works together, draft 1, so I'm not like draft 7 and I'm still not done, because I did that before with my first book. Not a fan. And so lastly, number 5 is, who are you writing this story for and why? Now, it can be just for you. That is a big thing. Stephen King, he writes for himself, but he also writes for his wife. And his wife is the first one that reads his messy draft. And she gives him tips, tricks, finds the plot holes, all of that stuff. And he discusses that in his book on writing. I think that's the book. I was blanking on the title for a second. That's what moves him to finish the draft, because he tells his wife, I'm writing a new book, and she's excited every time. And then he has to finish the book for her, right? And there's also the why. Now, the why is connected with the 4 points: artsy, money, entertainment, activism. How much range do you want to get from this particular book? And will you be upset or dismayed if it only reaches, let's say, 1,000 readers, whereas your other books have reached way more? But you know, there are a lot of writers that have their really popular books and they keep going with that, and then they have like pet projects. Now, I don't know if they would count that as pet projects, more like love products, and they put their heart and soul into this, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 books, and they're not really expecting to have it go number 1 in, you know, urban fantasy or something like that, because it's artsy usually, or it's telling a story of like their abusive childhood, but they need to write it out, that type of thing. Do you mind that it might not get a lot of reads, but you need to tell your story? Or would you mind, and then maybe you just write out that story and never publish it? You know, things like that, I think, also need to be discussed, because there are some books where, did you really want to publish it, or do you think that you need to because you wrote a book, right? Not all books that you write need to be published. They could just be for you, they could just be for your family and your friends maybe, but I think there is a bit of a thought, or maybe belief, that if you write a book and you don't publish it, then it's a waste of time. But that doesn't mean much, because 1, it's not really your business what other people are writing and not publishing. That's just me though. And also 2, not every book will work being published, as in an audience would be interested, or the why you're publishing is, oh, I need to write out my trauma. Coming from someone that has PTSD, right, from trauma, that doesn't mean you have to publish it. And that's something that can be very hard to process or to hear from someone that is writing out their trauma in a story or a memoir. But yeah, just think about that before, you know, looking into finding a publisher or publishing. Thank you so much for watching my 5 tips on how to start a new manuscript, or maybe finish a manuscript that you're already writing, but you're stuck in a rut in the middle of the road with no help. I hope I helped you out of the stuck in the rut in the middle of the road. If you have any other questions or you need extra help, comment down below and I'll try my best. Have a great writing and reading day. I hope you get back on that saddle and go write. Even if it's just 75 words, it's something. Do remember that Neil Gaiman wrote Coraline through a span of, I don't know, quite a few months, maybe it was a year, but he wrote about 75 to 150 words a day. You don't need to write a bunch, you just need to keep writing until you hit the end. That's another tip for you. That wasn't part of this video, but I just wanted to throw it in there because I know if you're struggling with a manuscript and you can't seem to finish it, the Neil Gaiman example really does help. I'm just saying. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.